I've told this story a number of times. This is a blast from the past. I grew up in a small town in Western Oregon, small, like 300 and something. And instead of like in Chicago they say, how about the Bears or the Bears? I guess DA Bears, the Bears. Well, in the town where I grew up, it was the Bear is back. So starting about probably kindergarten age, I was riding around town on a tricycle. Not a problem. I was younger then. And then I graduated to a bicycle, single speed, fat tires, weighed about a ton. Couldn't go uphill on it. You had to get off and walk it up most hills. Um, so anyway, the word would get out that the bear was in town. So we'd all go down to, it used to be Monty's Chevron station right in the corner of town. Town was partly divided by old Highway 99. Anyway, Highway 99 went straight south, then it went straight west, then it went straight south again. It just made this S turn through the edge of town. And that was kind of where the end of town was. Since then it's grown up and got bigger and uglier over there. But anyway, down at Monty's there was a big, next to Monty's was a big vacant lot, gravel, whatever. And a lot of kids would hang out there. And then when Monty's closed at night, kids would be around Monty's Chevron station and just park there and shoot the breeze, talk about girls, whatever. But in this parking lot, about once a year, twice a year, would come this guy in an old Dodge truck. It looked like a 2-ton Dodge truck. He'd come in and he'd park there, and he'd set up some little stairs or apple crates or whatever so he can get up there. And he'd go back, and his deal was, the way he made money was if you gave him 2 quarters, which was nearly a king's ransom, not quite, but back in those days. This is the early 50s probably. You give him 2 quarters, and he had a cage. It looked like a jail cell in an old cowboy movie. The jail cell was on the back of this truck, and you could walk up on these steps, and he had it unlocked, and there was a bear inside this cage. And it was, I don't know, it seemed pretty big to me at the time. I was a lot smaller. And you'd pay this guy 2 quarters, and he'd put his watch on it, and he'd open the door, and you'd jump in, and if you stayed in the cage with the bear for, I believe it was a full minute, then he would give you $2. Well, now that's a pretty good bet. Those are good odds. That's like a 5 to 1 or something. So okay. So I wouldn't do it when I was in kindergarten. I wasn't big enough. I wouldn't do it when I was in first grade because I was almost big enough, but not quite dumb enough. And probably I was about in the second grade, which made about 8. I don't think I was 9 yet, but anyway, 8, 9. Probably during the summer, so it might have been in between. So I decided this is the year. So I scrounge around, man. I've got nickels and dimes and pennies and whatever. So I come up with 50 cents, 2 quarters. Pay this guy these 2 quarters, and I figured, I'm probably the biggest kid in my class. And probably had 50 pounds on most of the kids. So I went in there with this bear, and they had a muzzle on bear so he couldn't bite you because they didn't want anybody to get hurt. But they didn't have anything on his feet, and he still had claws and everything. So the bear saw me, and he stood up. He started my way, and I saw him on his side, and I started his way. And we met right in the middle of that cage. I bounced off of him like a bowling ball off a freight train, and he reached up and slapped me up the side of the head with that claw. I had scratch marks on my cheek and everything else. I screamed like a little 8-year-old girl, help me, let me out of this place. And the guy opened the cage door and grabbed me and pulled me away from the bear. The bear went back over and sat in a corner. So I'm out there with my cheeks all swollen up and eyes kind of swollen shut. And so pretty soon here comes my hero. And this Nora was a friend of my younger of the 2 sisters, still older than me by about 4 years. And Nora was a pretty good sized girl. She wasn't lardo, but she was Rubenesque. She had big bones or something you might want to call it. And she grew up in kind of a tough family. So I don't know if she was Portuguese or what, I don't know. But anyway, she was tough. She talked tough, acted tough. You didn't want to say anything to her. She'd shove you down and wash your mouth out in a mud puddle. Anyway, so she comes up and she goes to the guy, and I'm standing there licking my wounds and trying to get better. And she said, here's my 2 quarters. And he said, well, I don't usually like girls in there. And she said, well, you pansy. All right, give me that 2 quarters. He went up there and he opened up the back door of that cage, and the bear saw, here comes Nora, and Nora sees the bear coming. And it was like a nuclear collision right there in the middle. She hit that bear, and that bear bounced around inside that cage for about 15 minutes. She jumped on top of that summit. She was dope slapping him and choking him and kicking, throwing his head down against the little bit of straw on the bottom of the. And the guy said, wait, don't hurt my bear, don't hurt my bear. I was feeling better already. I had a couple beers, I would have felt pretty good by then. So Nora gets out. That's the only person I ever saw that whoop that bear. She got her $2, unless she's been my hero the rest of my life. So now you know the rest of the story.